Welcome to this session of the EDA Summit 2024. My name is Vogelsang. I'm head of sales at ASAPIO, and today I'm going to talk about how to event-enable SAP systems, so basically how to introduce SAP into the world of event-driven architectures. ASAPIO is a Munich-based software and consulting company, and it's our mission basically to build bridges between the SAP and the non-SAP world. So we make sure that SAP systems can be integrated as seamlessly as possible in an enjoyable way. So why do we need this integration? Well, SAP, of course, holds extremely relevant business data. So both transactional events, transactional data, but also master data that needs to be distributed over your landscape. And so for both these cases, transactional and master data, EDA is a perfect fit. SAP for most organizations is really the backbone of their business data. So no matter which industry you're from or which line of business, SAP has many touch points there, and many processes touch an SAP system at some point in time. And in order to really generate value from the data that is within the SAP systems, this SAP data needs to be as openly available as possible, and you need to be able to integrate it easily. And this, of course, is especially true if you want to use SAP data in real time outside of the SAP system. So let's imagine you have your SAP system and you want to connect it to surrounding applications, to certain event subscribers, maybe also to event producers. And your organization may want to adopt event-driven architecture for that matter. You want to benefit from real-time data availability and real-time communication, and you want to integrate SAP systems into these event-driven systems or architectures. And so that has become increasingly relevant in the past. And so a good choice for a broker technology, of course, to do that would be the SAP Advanced Event Mesh, for example, or of course Solace PubSub Platform. And now the question is how to integrate the SAP system to these brokers, and the component that is doing that is the ASAPIO Integration Add-on that basically is installed on your SAP system and connects your SAP system seamlessly into this world of the event-driven architecture. And basically in this session, we will demonstrate how this integration will look like, how it's managed, and what the benefits of this approach are. So how do we do that? Well, so companies that are looking to enhance their SAP data integration processes by moving from the traditional synchronous models to a more flexible asynchronous event-driven approach, they use the ASAPIO Integration Add-on, as you can see here on the SAP system, and that in combination with the, for example, Solace as an event broker, which is ideal for this because the ASAPIO Integration Add-on provides a seamless bridge between the SAP system and Solace, and it basically allows for the real-time asynchronous communication to take place. And one thing to understand is, I would say SAP in itself is an event-driven system. So there are transactions, there are people interacting with these transactions, they are creating events, they are doing things, creating business objects, changing business objects, deleting things. So SAP in itself is already event-driven, you could argue. And so it's quite natural then to make these events, these actions that happen in the SAP systems also available outside of the SAP system. There are actually many use cases that are there when talking about event-driven integration in the SAP world. Of course, it's the classical EDA integration, but also you want to provide maybe clean core interfaces when you renovate your integration scenarios at this point in time. Also want to provide standardized data products, standardized event products or event definitions. And of course, you also want to be able to reuse SAP data in your AI scenarios, in your AI use cases, for example, in real time, or to train your models. And so the unique features of the ASAPIO approach really help to achieve that. So first of all, of course, ASAPIO makes sure that the events are properly available to the broker, so that we adhere to this event-driven approach, that we make sure that the events as they occur, that they are transferred in real time to the broker, and also that it is a direct connectivity from the SAP system to the broker itself, so no middleware in the middle that would be needed, and an additional component. On top of that, one of the most unique aspects is that this entire approach is codeless. So in order to send events from the SAP system to the broker, you don't need to write a single line of code, but it's all done through modeling and through configuration. But the actual event is then being generated for you. And it is also an extensible framework, meaning if you have additional, more complex requirements, you can model these within ASAPIO. And basically, what this enables you to do is a bidirectional event-driven integration between your broker and your SAP system, no matter whether it's an SAP S/4HANA system, whether it's an SAP ECC system, or basically any NetWeaver ABAP that we support. Now, with regards to Solace as an event broker, what is unique of that is, of course, Solace's possibility to work with smart topics or dynamic topics, so to automatically generate and manage event channels based on specific criteria, for example, so specific data attributes, which, of course, reduces manual intervention and makes you create those more scalable scenarios in a more flexible way. And so the ASAPIO Integration Add-on also supports the creation and definition of these dynamic topics. And also our approach allows that you basically can export an AsyncAPI specification or documentation of the events that you modeled within SAP, so that you can use this documentation or specification in your event portal of choice to document these and make the events more discoverable to the outside world. Now, in order to basically deliver this to this promise, the three partners, Solace, SAP, and ASAPIO, we are working together to realize this use case. And so our approach is very unique. It's a combination of companies that we are, as ASAPIO, we are very proud of working together with Solace and SAP here. And so we are contributing to that partnership with our integration add-on. And as I said, one of the main values of the add-on is that you can define your events in a codeless fashion. So you don't need to write code. It's a very easy way and very fast way to come up with events. And it's also a clean core compliant way to define your events. And so this, of course, in today's SAP environments is very important. Next, ASAPIO is also delivering predefined content for events. So you may not even need to model the events in a codeless fashion yourself, but you may also now use our predefined content for the typical standard events that you would expect in your SAP system, so that you can basically reuse predefined event definitions and predefined event content, both for SAP ECC and also for SAP S/4HANA. Next, our real-time approach and this bidirectional integration runs in all deployment models of SAP. So whether it is whether you have your SAP system still on premise, whether it's in a private cloud infrastructure as a service hosting deployment, or whether it is on RISE with SAP in the private cloud, all of these different stacks and deployment models are supported. And last but not least, ASAPIO also contains an automatic means to, for example, resolve errors when there are maybe glitches in the network connection, when we want to restart jobs that failed, or single transmissions maybe that failed and you want to resend them. And so basically to provide an enterprise-grade integration and also the resilience that hundreds of customers have already decided for. So next I'm going to present to you in a demo how this can work for a concrete use case. And so what we've chosen to present to you today is that we want to build quite a classical use case, which is the distribution of sales order change data to a broker. Yeah, so this is a pretty common scenario that you want to make the changes to the sales orders in SAP available to the outside world. And therefore, as step one, we are going to build an transactional real-time change event, meaning the sales order change. Yeah, we are going to model that in a codeless fashion in the ASAPIO payload designer. And so choose, for example, when this event should occur and also which fields should be part of that payload. Because in ASAPIO, you can completely freely decide which data should be part of the data event. Yeah? So we are not only sending notification events, but we are sending larger business events that you can enrich with any data in the payload. Next, in step two, we are then also going to configure a dynamic topic within ASAPIO. So such a dynamic or smart topics allows you basically to structure your more complex events. And as you can see here in the URL path, we will have 8 different hierarchy levels in our topic definitions. The first 4 ones are static values, and then the 4 next ones, the sales organization, the channel, the division, and the customer ID, those are filled dynamically. So a consumer of this topic could, for example, choose to only filter a subset of these events based on this dynamic topic. And last but not least, in step 3, we are creating an AsyncAPI documentation of our event that you could then reuse in your event catalog or event portal to make the event discoverable outside of your SAP system and make it available. And all of these steps, as I said, we are going to show you that they do not require any coding, that it's configuration only, and also clean core compliant. And so with that, let's jump directly to the demo. So we are now in the ASAPIO payload designer, and we're going to create a new payload. Therefore, we are going to specify a name for our sales order change event and add some descriptive and metadata information to describe this payload design. So, like version and a descriptive text. And once we have done that, we will then select the necessary tables for our payload and also the fields that we want to send for each sales order change event. And in order to add these tables, we are moving into the join builder, and here we can add all the different tables that are required later in the payload. So we are going to make it a bit more complex here and add multiple tables, which are then also joined together in a hierarchical way. You can see that you can also change the relationships between the tables and to specify new join conditions depending on how you want the tables to be connected. You can also change the join conditions themselves. Now that we have selected the 4 tables, we can also specify for each table which fields should be included in the final payload. So here we are selecting all the different fields that we require as part of the sales order change event. Some of these fields we will later also use for the dynamic topics. But as you can see, you can simply add all fields that you are interested in. You could also manipulate the fields here if that is required, but we will not go into those details. So you could also add conversion methods, you could rename the fields, you could do calculations on the field values and so on, but that is a bit too much for this session today. So now that we're happy, we can save our payload definition. Now we have to connect our payload definition that we have here with our actual sales order change event. So here in the outbound object definitions, we are going to select the sales order payload that we have just selected, and we're also going to set it to incremental load, which means that we are sending events in real time as they occur in the SAP system. Now we want to go ahead and assign a few values of the queue dynamically. For that, we go into the field mapping, and we can now set a target structure for the different topics and their respective levels in the URL. So as you can see here, we have prepared 8 different levels for the topic. There are 4 static values that are always set, as you can see here on the right-hand side, and we have 4 values that are filled dynamically depending on the values in the respective sales orders. Now we will go ahead and change sales order and therefore trigger an event. Therefore, we take this sales order here and change the order quantity from 10 to 7. Saving this change will now trigger the ASAPIO Integration Add-on, and the event will be sent to the broker. We go to the monitoring transaction, and once we refresh, we see that the event has been sent. The response code was 200 OK, so the event was successfully received by the broker, and we can now inspect the actual trace. Here we see the dynamic topic that was filled as we defined it earlier in the configuration. See, all the values are assigned dynamically, and below that we have the JSON structure that corresponds to the structure of the fields and tables that we defined earlier in the payload designer. And you can see the broker received it successfully. We also have application logs that give more information in case something failed, and you could restart the transmission in case there was a problem. We'll now go into the Solace broker and check the received event and the message. As you can see on the right-hand side, the event was successfully received. The payload is here, and also the dynamic topic and all the values were received as we defined it in ASAPIO Integration Add-on. For step 3 of the demonstration, we are now going to export an AsyncAPI documentation of our event. For this, we go to the ASAPIO AsyncAPI export tool. We're going to specify for which broker and which connection we want to export the event, and we can set some additional values for the documentation and then basically receive the JSON file that includes the AsyncAPI export. And now as we open this file, we can see that it basically contains the definition of our event, all the different fields, and you could use this file now to import it into your event portal, for example, and make the event discoverable in the catalog so that everyone can benefit from reusing this event. Great. So we have seen in our demo use case how basically, first of all, a transactional real-time event can be defined in ASAPIO and then sent to Solace as the event broker. So we have modeled a sales order change event, defined a payload, so basically which fields are part of that event that we want to publish to the broker and send to the broker in real time. And then as a second step, we have also configured a dynamic topic. So basically to make your event more structured and filterable so that you that event consumers could filter on dynamic attributes of that event without you to configure those topics previously in the broker. And lastly, we have also seen how you could create a AsyncAPI documentation of your event. So basically in an open format to make your event later on discoverable in an event portal or an event catalog of your choice, and to document it to basically make it reusable in the outside world. And we have also seen that all of these steps do not require any coding, but they are all based on configuration only. So, and with that, I want to thank you for your attention today in this session. It was a pleasure to speak at the EDA Summit 2024, and I will be very happy to take your questions. Feel free to reach out to me directly, of course, or also to ASAPIO through our website. You can also request a free of charge evaluation license to try our approach on your systems. And with that, I wish you a great remaining EDA Summit and have a good day. Thank you very much.